Welcome everyone to my pay-per-view preview video for both WWE Money in the Bank happening July 17th next week and Impact Wrestling's Destination X 2011 happening this Sunday. Excuse the formal attire, but I just came from a job interview right before I filmed this, so you get to see me look a little snazzy today. Looks great. Now I said last week, and I've been talking about it the last couple of videos, I am honestly considering ordering both pay-per-views. Destination X I am going to order for sure. Money in the Bank I'll wait until next week and we'll see how it goes. Honestly, you know, for all the harsh things that I say about WWE and TNA, lately they've stumbled onto a couple of things that have piqued my interest a little bit. I've talked about it with Impact Wrestling, even though they still do some stupid crap. The Anderson heel turn this week, for example, was another dumb swerve. But overall, I feel the show has gotten better. I do enjoy the Bound for Glory series. I do enjoy the renewed focus on the X Division. Will that last until after Destination X? Time will tell. And as for WWE, I think the Punk promo really generated a spark within the company creatively. Will they be able to capitalize on that heading into the pay-per-view? I don't know. We'll find out next week. But overall, you know, and I talk about it all the time, pay-per-views, if they're not worth the money, they're not worth my time. So I tend to not even watch the pay-per-views that I don't order. One of my subscribers sent me a link to streams to watch the pay-per-views online, because I always complain about how expensive they are. But part of the problem is that not only, to me, they're not worth the price tag, so I don't think they're worth my time either, and that's why I don't watch a lot of the shows. If they're not interesting enough for me to want to pay money for, then I don't feel like sitting down and watching them either. And I felt that way for a lot of the pay-per-views I've been reviewing. Actually, July 17th, I checked, will mark the 1-year anniversary that I've been doing videos here on YouTube. The first video I did was bashing both Hardcore Justice and WWE Money in the Bank. And a lot of my pay-per-view previews since then have talked about, you know, this show's really not worth your money. And I think I ordered Survivor. I did order Survivor Series. But other than that, I haven't ordered a wrestling pay-per-view for either company since then. I've ordered some of the Ring of Honor pay-per-views, but that's about it. At WrestleMania, I got together with a few friends and we went to a bar. So I didn't pay for it. But here we go. We've got two pay-per-views, and I'm honestly considering ordering both. So my pay-per-view bill might be a little hefty this month, which is not, you know, if they deserve to be bought, then I should be happy to do it, right? I'll start with WWE Money in the Bank, because it's not happening until next week, and we don't have a full card yet, so I'll spend a little less time talking about it. And I'll be honest, the card isn't spectacular. I've talked about it before. I'm not a fan of gimmick pay-per-views where they try to sell the pay-per-view on a gimmick match. But Money in the Bank is a little bit more acceptable because at least the gimmicks involve fighting over something that's worth, you know, something that's worthwhile. People who win Money in the Bank are generally going to win the world title. And I've talked about it before. I think the Money in the Bank has become, the cash-ins have become cliche and an excuse not to build somebody up well. Jack Swagger. But overall, I think the concept of the match itself, you're going to get a fun spot fest out of it, so it's entertaining to watch, and at least they're fighting over something that's worthwhile, so that's commendable. I wish, and again, tying this into bragging rights, which they've dropped, this is one of those pay-per-views that I feel like, if they really wanted to make bragging rights worth something, they would have had the winning brand, you know, get some perks out of it rather than just a stupid cup that nobody cares about. Like if I were doing it, like, okay, winner of bragging rights, the winning brand gets the last 5 spots in the Royal Rumble, the winning brand gets the Elimination Chamber match at Elimination Chamber, the winning brand gets the Money in the Bank ladder match, and that's, you know, that's a complete side point or whatever. But yeah, card as it stands right now, it looks like we're gonna get Kelly Kelly versus one of the Bellas. I don't care. For the Divas title. Again, I don't care. The Bellas are terrible. Even by, like, usual bad women's wrestling standards, they are fucking horrible. They make Kelly Kelly look like a pro. I think out of all the knockouts and of all the Divas from both companies, I think the Bellas were the worst. They're a poor man's LayCool, and I wasn't even that big a fan of LayCool, so... And they're not even that hot. That's the thing. You know, because the excuse normally is if they're shitty wrestlers, like, well, they look like models and they're hot. So they're not even like, I'm not saying they're ugly, they're just ordinary looking. compared to, say, Kelly Kelly or Marie. So it's, you know, the looks thing they don't even match up to. So, I mean, you know, that's just my personal opinion. Of course, I still slobber over Mickie James, but yeah, she's my personal wrestling crush if I had one. But yeah, not looking forward to that. It'll just be bad filler. Mark Henry versus The Big Show looks like it's going to happen. I don't care. Some of the things they've done on TV are cool, like the bit they did with the cage a couple weeks ago looked impressive, but it's kind of the thing I've talked about with Gunner and Crimson. You know, an undefeated streak's not a bad idea. A winning streak over big names isn't a bad idea. Slamming Big Show through a cage isn't a bad idea. But I wish they would do it with talents that I have more faith in. And Mark Henry is a guy that they've been trying to put into the main event for 15 years. I watched his debut on pay-per-view and how bad he was. And they've been trying their damnedest to make this guy main eventer ever since. And I think he's going to win the world title by the end of the year. It's just, you know, look at SmackDown over there. It's just a matter of time. You know, and I just don't understand the infatuation with Mark Henry. I don't know if Vince just really wants to get his investment back on that guy. I don't know, but wow. I mean, they've really given him more chances than anybody else has ever got. That's all I'll say. But yeah, I don't care about that match either. I wish the TV time that they've spent on him, I wish they'd do something like that with a new big guy. You know, I think it's kind of sad that, you know, look at the Attitude Era. Who were the trademark big guys? Big Show, Kane, Mark Henry, Viscera, and Rikishi. 3 of them are still there, and they're still the trademark big guys. I wish it's like, really? You can't find another big guy worker that's worth investing time in and marketing as a top star? You know? All right. Because, you know, Kane and Big Show are past their primes. Mark Henry never had a prime. He's just always sucked. And, you know, Big Show's the best of the 3, but, you know, his whole unbeatable giant thing is kind of destroyed when he's been slammed and beaten as many times as he has. You know, look at Andre the Giant. How many times did you see him get bitched out prior to losing to Hogan at WrestleMania 3? It wasn't often. I mean, I remember him getting his hair cut by the Heenan family. Well, I don't remember it. I've seen clips. I wasn't alive when it happened. But, you know, stuff like that didn't happen often with Andre. So he still had this air of invincibility about him, even at the late stage of his career. Big Show doesn't have that anymore, so it's just kind of, you know, who cares? So yeah, don't give a shit about that match. Then you got the 2 Money in the Bank ladder matches. I'm going to try and remember who's in them. On Raw, I believe it's Evan Bourne, Jack Swagger, The Miz, Alex Riley, Kofi Kingston, Rey Mysterio, R-Truth, and Alberto Del Rio. I think the match will be great. I think, you know, with people like Evan Bourne and Rey Mysterio in it, you're going to get some wild shit to happen. And I think they've, on the Raw side, they actually have some interesting rivalries. Like, I really am kind of digging the Miz and Alex Riley feud, even though they haven't executed it perfectly. I am kind of... Alex Riley's a guy that I'm looking at and think, let's spend some time with him and see how he does. I think there's potential there. I'm not saying he's going to be world champion, but there's something to tap into with that guy. So I think this match will be really good. Who's going to win? I think Alberto Del Rio's going to get it. They've pretty much already confirmed that he's going to get the shot at SummerSlam against Cena. That's what the reports are saying. He already earned a title shot on Raw, so he'll have like a justifiable claim to the championship following Money in the Bank. So I don't know if they'll just have him win the Money in the Bank and SummerSlam will be his cash-in. I don't know. Because I am getting tired of the shock cash-ins. I'd actually would appreciate it if the guys would designate when they're going to cash in and build them up to that point. I think that would be better. Because, you know, Edge did it the first time. It was amazing, but it's just become kind of boring after that. So, you know, if I were going to pick a winner myself, I would probably give it to, I've already talked about Alex Riley, and just build him up over the course of a year and see how he does. You know, Del Rio, who I think is going to win, I've said it before, the guy is just not, it's the gimmick. It's not the in-ring talent, it's the gimmick that really bugs me about him. He's just, a friend of mine summed him up best as Tito Santana trying to play JBL. And it's just not that interesting to watch. I just don't see the appeal in the guy. But I think he's the heavy favorite to win this match. So, yeah, so I'm picking Del Rio to win that. The SmackDown match, you really see just how barren SmackDown is. Who's in this? It's Sheamus, Cody Rhodes, Daniel Bryan, Wade Barrett, Heath Slater, and Justin Gabriel. Yikes. I don't even know who else is in it. I guess Ted DiBiase or somebody. Sin Cara's in it. That might be cool if he doesn't botch. But yeah, SmackDown just has nothing going for it right now. It's kind of a dead show. It's Randy Orton at the top, and then all the misfit toys. I mean, and Randy Orton is going to be facing Christian for the World Heavyweight title, which, again, will be a good match, because they always have good matches. But at this point, Christian's already lost to him 3 times. How is he worthy of getting a title shot, you know? Kind of, you know, going back to what I always say about wins and losses not really meaning anything. You could lose 4 title matches in a row and still get a title shot next month. It doesn't matter. But SmackDown, you know, I had a feeling they were going to stretch that feud out as long as they could because they have nothing else going for them. The number 2 guy on SmackDown right now, Christian, is a guy that the WWE spent years telling us that he wasn't good enough to be in the main event, and now he's in that spot just out of necessity. Yeah, Sheamus in a higher spot. He's you know, a victim of the too much too soon syndrome. They put the title on him way too quickly, and it's just all downhill from there. Mark Henry is high up there. Again, probably out of necessity because they don't have anybody else. But I just like, really? He's an option? Just, again, yikes. So who's going to win Money in the Bank? I don't know for sure. I honestly don't really care all that much. I'll pick Sheamus, I guess. But again, I don't really care. World title match, I'm going to pick Randy Orton to win. Again, they'll have a good match. But that, you know, that's it. But the main reason, I know I've sounded like I've been negative towards this pay-per-view so far, but the one positive that this show has going for it right now is CM Punk versus John Cena for the WWE Championship. Punk's promo made this one of the most interesting pay-per-view main events in a long time. And again, on its face, it looks like, okay, Cena loses, he's going to be fired. They did that last year, and it didn't work. And by all accounts, Punk is leaving, so Cena's not going to lose. But there's this, in the back of my mind, I'm just thinking, what if Punk's not leaving? What if this is just an elaborate work and they manage to do something really creative here? What if they do something really shocking? And you know, it's got me curious. Again, we won't find out until the pay-per-view or the night after, but I am curious to see what happens. Who knows? I mean, they might have the Money in the Bank winner cash in on Punk after he wins. I mean, I have no idea. There's a ton of crazy things they could do. That said, I mean, count on Cena winning. By all accounts, I think Cena's going to win. Especially Punk's leaving. Cena should win because you can't put the belt on a guy who's leaving. But what I will say, what this match really does have going for it, even if they do go with that overly predictable finish, I think the crowd is really going to make this match. I think we could see a one-night stand 2006 type of situation here. Only probably on a bigger scale because it'll be a bigger crowd. And I hope that the crowd makes this an exciting match because a good atmosphere can really help make a match. Hogan and Rock was all about the atmosphere. That's one of my favorite matches of all time. It was all about the kind of atmosphere that putting those two in the ring generated. And I think we'll get... I'm not saying it'll be like Hogan and Rock like, but we're going to get a really exciting, rabid crowd, and that'll really make this match fun to watch. And that's kind of got me hooked on wanting to order this pay-per-view. We'll find out. I'll see what they do on television next week. I think Punk has become the most interesting character in the WWE right now, even though they had him kiss Cena's ass at a house show, which I don't know if that was him, you know, breaking character or what. I don't know, but it was kind of like, oh, come on, don't do that. I hope they don't do that at the pay-per-view. And, you know, Cena's still his old goofy, stupid self. One of my jokes with my friends is that Cena is the champion of... He likes whatever the fans like. So even though Punk cut this horrible promo bashing the company, bashing him, and all this shit, Cena comes out the next week and says, oh, the fans liked it, so I liked it too. I'm simplifying, of course, but, you know, Cena's just, I like what you like, so I'm going to champion what CM Punk said, even though he bashed me. And he humiliated me the week before by costing me a match and all that shit. But I would have liked it if Cena came out, and maybe it's just not in his character, but to just come out the next week is like, look, Vince, I want to fight CM Punk because that son of a bitch left me laying last week and then said some not-so-nice things about me. I want to kick his ass. Like, that would have been really cool. Austin would have done that. Rock would have done that. Even Hogan and Warrior, like the so-called goody-goodies, would have done that. Bret and Shawn would have done that. Cena, oh, yeah, it's okay. All is forgiven. You know, but, you know, that's just Cena. But yeah, I do think the main event is going to be very interesting, and that will be hopefully worth it. Again, I'm going to wait until I see what happens next week before I ultimately decide to order the pay-per-view. And that'll carry me into Destination X, TNA's all X Division pay-per-view. And I gotta say, in the last month, TNA has done a really good job of making me want to see this. They've had some mistakes along the way, but overall, I'm really intrigued to see what they do on this show or how this show turns out. And I feel like for the people that say TNA, they don't focus on the X Division anymore, I want to see more X Division, well, they're giving you what you want here. Whether or not they stick with it after the pay-per-view, you are going to get what you asked for at least one night. The six-sided ring is coming back. I don't really care. It's amazing to me how many people actually care whether or not the six-sided ring is there, whether they hate it or they love it. Like, there's such passionate responses either way. And I've been the one guy who's just kind of like, I don't really give a shit. But I thought the six-sided ring, when they first did it, I thought I would hate it. But it was kind of like the Rumble Pack. I'm going way back here. I'm kind of dating myself. Because now, the rumbling effect is built into all video game controllers. But when Star Fox came out on N64 and the Rumble Pack was sold with it, and the vibrating controller was really weird to get used to for the first couple of times, but after a couple hours of playing, I didn't even notice it was there. And that's kind of how it was with the six-sided ring. I just kind of didn't notice after a while. But, whatever. If you like the six-sided ring, it's going to be there. And I'll be honest, the card is not what I would have done, but it's still pretty darn good overall. And I do want to see this. Again, it's kind of a novelty or a nostalgia pay-per-view. Maybe it's shallow and they're just trying to appeal to a niche audience. I don't know, but it's intriguing. I like some of the things that they've done on TV to build it up. You got the four-way match: Austin Aries, Low Ki, Zema Ion, is that his name? Zema, I don't know. And Jack Evans, four-way match for a TNA contract. They've done a fantastic job setting this up. The three matches that they did on TV on Impact were great. Great ways to show off the talents, and a great way to, again, make wins mean something, because you have to win a series of matches to get a contract with the company. I think that's a really great idea. And the talents that have gotten in it have looked good. Austin Aries, truthfully, is not one of my favorite characters, but he's a great athlete. Low Ki is awesome. Love him. Jack Evans, I haven't seen much of him, but he looked great. And Zema Ion was the best out of the three. I mean, that match was like, well, it's three kids who have never been on national TV, and it kind of showed. But overall, he looked the best of the three. So I expect this to be a really cool match. I kind of wish they made this one the Ultimate X match, quite honestly. But just because they have something that's really been built up as being worth fighting for. But I think this will be a really good match. And I can see any one of the four winning, because whether it be TNA's either going to want to go with a reliable veteran in Austin Aries or Low Ki, or Jack Evans, even though as far as I know, he'd never been with the company. Or they might want to just use this opportunity to build up a new guy in Zema Ion. So we'll see how it goes. I expect that to be a really good match. We've got an Ultimate X match: Alex Shelley, Amazing Red, Robbie E, and Shannon Moore. Ultimate X matches, they're spot fests. I wish they had made the contract match the Ultimate X match, because I think that one is a little bit more exciting. It's been built up on TV, and I think it would play into the gimmick a little better. Here it's just, okay, four guys, winner gets a title shot, which, unfortunately, that's kind of been the downfall of Ultimate X, where they don't really put stories into the gimmick. They just kind of say, hey, look, we're doing it again, and they've done it like 25 times. So I love how they always say the return of Ultimate X. And it's like, we saw the last one like 2 months ago. It hasn't been gone that long. It really hasn't. But, again, I think the match will be really good. I think it'll be kind of this crazy spot fest of the night. Shelley and Red are the two best guys in the match, and I think they'll make it work. And if I were to pick a winner, I'd give it to Shelley, because, with Sabin on the shelf, he's not going to have much to do. And I think Shelley's a great singles character and should have gotten a singles push back in 2006 when he was doing the very hilarious paparazzi production skits with Kevin Nash. I think they really dropped the ball with Shelley after that, when he should have become X Division champion at some point during that angle. But I say give it to Shelley. I think he's the best option of the four. So yeah, then we got Douglas Williams issuing an open invitational contest, open challenge. There we go. My vocabulary is very extensive. I don't know who he's going to face. I kind of got my expectations low. I think it's going to be Homicide because I've heard reports that he was at the tapings last week and that he's going to play a role at the pay-per-view. We'll see. I mean, I don't know what the contract situation is for a lot of these guys, but Homicide I've never been a big fan of as a singles guy. He was great in LAX, but as a singles guy, he's just never really done it for me. And but I'm counting on it being him. I would like it to be either Jay Lethal or Petey Williams. I think, especially Petey Williams, because I think the Canadian Destroyer versus Chaos Theory would be a cool dynamic for that match. I think if it were Jay Lethal or Petey Williams, it would be more special and it would be cool. But I don't know who's going to win that. I guess you give it to Douglas Williams since he's actually going to be there next week and you don't know the status of who's coming in. But again, we'll see. But that could be a good match. One of the weaker matches on the show, actually probably the weakest match on the show, is Abyss versus Brian Kendrick for the X Division title. You know, I'm not saying it'll be a bad match, but when you're trying to sell a pay-per-view as all X Division and you have Abyss as your X Division champion, it just kind of feels like, you're cheating a little bit. And, you know, part of the problem with the show is that it might get a little repetitive with the flips and everything, so they probably wanted to do a David versus Goliath type of match just to cause some kind of differentiation between the matches. But, I mean, the angle hasn't been bad, although Kendrick's promos border on Warrior-esque, I will say. I don't think the match will be bad. It's just, it's not an X Division type of match. But, you know, I think Kendrick will win the title. I think that's where they're going with this. So, that, you know, Kendrick's going to win the title. So, that's kind of my thoughts on that. We've got Samoa Joe versus Kazarian, which I think will be a cool match. It's kind of a fresh match. I only recall seeing them wrestle each other once, and that was on Impact when Joe was world champion, and it was a good match. So I expect a good match here as long as Joe's motivated. Sometimes lately his motivation's been in question, but I think these two can combine and have a really good match. I think their styles are just naturally make a good clash for each other, and I just think it'll be a really good match. I think it'll be cool. Then we got Jerry Lynn versus Rob Van Dam. Now this is a match. As much as I bashed the idea for Hardcore Justice last year in my first video, I almost ordered the pay-per-view just to see this match, because to me this was the one thing from all the ECW reunion shows, whether it be the ones that WWE did, TNA show, or some of the hardcore reunions or whatever. This was the one match we never got. And I want to see it again. I'm not saying it'll be as good as their previous efforts, but for the sake of nostalgia, I think it'll be cool to see them work with each other again. And I gotta say, on Thursday, Jerry Lynn looked pretty good to me. He looked very good. I thought he was kind of the star of the match, actually. He surprised me a little bit. I was like, God damn, that guy just doesn't age. He looked good. So I think these two will have a really good match, and it'll be fun for nostalgia, and I do want to see it again. So, and it's nice that it'll be on a pay-per-view that I have a lot more faith in than Hardcore Justice, where I kind of expected a failure. And by most accounts, it was a failure. But yeah, Rob Van Dam's going to win, but I expect a fun match here. And we have AJ Styles versus Christopher Daniels in the main event. Not the main event I would have done. I would have tried to do something different rather than going for two nostalgia main events. Because AJ and Daniels have wrestled each other 100 times. I would have probably done AJ and Kazarian for the title, or AJ and Joe in a Bound for Glory series match, just to give it a little bit more spice. But AJ and Daniels will have a really good match. They always do have really good matches. So if you enjoy their matches, you're going to get another good one here. They've done some ass-kissing in the build-up, but there's an air of Daniels has been kind of disingenuous. You can kind of sense that, so I don't know if we're going to see something crazy here. I'm going to go out on a limb and pick Daniels to win the match. Probably through a heel turn. We'll see. I don't know. But it just seems like they're going for he's finally going to get that big win over AJ, which he's never really had. He beat him in Ultimate X in 05, but that was kind of a fluky win. He's never really, as far as I know, he's never really defeated AJ Styles. So they might want to do that on this pay-per-view. But we shall see. I think it'll be a really great main event, and I think it'll round out the card very well. And I am very excited for this pay-per-view. TNA Impact Wrestling will get my money for this pay-per-view. And I hope it's worth it. And I encourage anybody that wants more X Division to order it. I can't guarantee that if the pay-per-view does well, and I don't think TNA should be looking for huge increases in the buy rates, because they're not going to get that at this point. But what they should be thinking about, put on a show that will generate a buzz, put on a show that will garner them a lot of creative or a lot of critical success. Like, put on a show that will get a lot of positive reviews, and that'll generate a positive buzz about the company, and hopefully that'll continue this upward trend that they've been on lately. Because, like I said, the show's not perfect now, and it's far from perfect, actually, but they are taking small steps in the right direction, and I have been enjoying the show a lot more lately than I have been since the last time I really enjoyed the show was like the tail end of '09, and it's been kind of, well, Hogan and Bischoff came in, we all know what happened, but hopefully this is indicative of a continuation of the upward trend that they've been on lately, and I hope I enjoy the show, and those of you who do watch the show, I hope you enjoy it too. My review of Destination X will come next week sometime, possibly not until next Monday, because if I do order Money in the Bank, I will want to do both reviews in one video. So if I decide not to order Money in the Bank, the Destination X review will come up a lot sooner. And until then, everybody, have a good weekend. And I forgot to say this last week. I hope everybody enjoyed their 4th of July weekend. Yes, I'm tag that on to the end of the video because I'm dyslexic. But yeah, I do hope everybody enjoyed the 4th of July weekend. I hope everybody continues to enjoy their summer. And if you order the pay-per-view this Sunday, and I do encourage you to order it, if you want to see it, and if you really have a strong desire to see it, you should pay the money for it. That's just how I feel. But if you do that, I hope you enjoy the show, and I will see you all later. So take it easy.